the email marketing blueprint for paving companies. And so email is very important and very underused by the paving industry. And we're going to learn a little bit about how you can do a much better job generating leads through targeted email campaigns. And so if you're tired of chasing down leads and looking for a way to get more commercial jobs, and also wondering how to build loyalty with existing customers, you're going to learn how to do that today with email marketing. As a side note, we hear, you know, pretty frequently, people will say, I'm good. I don't need to do marketing. I've got, a book of existing book of business, customers we've been working with for years. But then they'll also say, but I don't know why my sales were down this year. And the reality is what's happening is that as people go online, as people, in the paving industry get more savvy and effective in online marketing, they are poaching these customers. And so this is one part of a very important strategy for turning that around and making sure that that doesn't happen to you. So this is really, really critical. Pay attention, take notes, and do this stuff. It will help you a ton. So what we're going to cover is how to identify and target high-value commercial prospects, methods that you can use to create compelling email campaigns that convert, how to automate this so you're not sitting there sending emails all day, because you and I both know you don't have time for that. Ways to measure and optimize your results so that you get continuous growth, which is the whole point. And then how you can build loyalty with existing customers. Okay, so we're going to go through all that today. Who am I? Why should you talk to me or listen to me rather? I own Paving Marketers. We've worked with dozens and dozens and dozens of paving companies. We're a member of NAPA, and I wrote online marketing for paving companies. So we do this every day. We help paving companies get more leads and customers every day. And so the things that I tell you come from doing this for paving companies. We're not just making this stuff up. We have tons of clients, client testimonials. Here's a couple. Guys have been with us a long time. And we got a whole stack from here of reviews and feedback from our customers. I won't sit here and read all of these, but I just want you to know that we do a good job for our customers. We get them great results. And from that, I get these things that I share with you. Okay. And all of this boils down to what we call the digital dominance method. And that's just a funny term for, when you engage online marketing, you have to do it all. You can't just cherry pick this or that, because eventually, you're going to get a competitor, if you don't already have one, who is doing it all. And different types of customers shop in different places and in different ways. And so in order to reach all of them and get your total addressable market, you have to do all of these things. Now, you don't have to do them all at once, but you have to do them all. Okay. And email is a critical part of this. So let's dive into it. So we talk about email marketing. It's a digital marketing strategy that uses email to nurture relationships with new and existing customers. Now, everybody knows what email is, of course. We're talking about a very specific use of email for marketing purposes. And it involves sending targeted emails to promote your products and services to potential customers and to engage with your existing customers. And those are the two things that you want to do with email. And does it work? The statistics say that it does. And now I understand there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. So I get it. But they do point at useful things, and so it's helpful to keep in mind. And if you just apply it to yourself like I do, do I check my email at least once a day? Yeah. Is email my preferred marketing channel? I would say that it is. And have I made purchases for marketing emails? Yes, I definitely have. And so some of these studies, the average estimate is somewhere around a return on investment of $36 for every $1 spent, or 36x ROI. Now, part of that is because it's so cheap to do, but the more important part of it is it's extremely effective. And so however you get to that 36x, email marketing will make you more money. And so it's very important and you got to do it. Additional benefits, you're directly communicating with your customers. You can tailor messages to specific audience segments. You're going to want to have a different email that you send to residential customers than you send to commercial customers, obviously. It's something that you can measure. So you can understand what percent of people are opening your emails or clicking through them, what kind of conversion activity you're getting from it. We'll cover that later. And it's just cost effective. It's cheap. And so it's a no-brainer in many ways. And there's lots of different kinds of emails, and you probably get all of these. So there's the gift or offer, you get the birthday email, hey, here's your free guacamole from Chipotle or whatever. If you put something in a cart, certain brands will send you emails if you're, have an account with them, like, hey, did you forget to buy the thing? Niche content. This is kind of, I think, more so moved to social, but there's still newsletters and things like that that people will get. Um, and then thank you email. Hey, thanks for working with us. Right. I'm sure you get all of these. And so if you're not using email marketing, you're definitely missing out. Okay, so let's get to it. So how do you reach new customers? And the way that you do this is through cold email. What cold email is, and it's like right up to the fence, and on the other side of the fence is spam, right? So nobody wants spam email, but a valuable cold email can introduce you to companies and things that you weren't aware of. So there's an art to doing this right, and you don't want to be a spammer, and there are many traps in place to stop spammers. And so I'll give you a basic overview of how to avoid these things. But the bottom line is cold email is a great way to get your name out there, to get you connected with people that don't know you, that might be interested in what you have to do, especially if you've got a good value proposition. You provide the best service, and not just words, but like really you've got something that will pique the interest of your customers. It's going to do well for you. And just paving marketers. I mean, I've owned an agency for over 10 years. When I started paving marketers, the main method that I used and originally to get started and what got us our first couple customers was cold email. So, this is one I can speak to directly as being extremely effective for acquiring new customers if you know who your customer is and you know what their problems are and you have a solution that resonates with them. Okay. So, don't let it scare you. When it's done right, it is a highly effective tool. There are tons and tons of high volume commercial prospects in your service area. Think, you know, property management companies, retail, commercial, retail, when it's commercial real estate, that's what I was trying to think of. Anybody with a parking lot, if you can identify those in the industries, you can send them emails. Okay. And when it's done correctly, this can produce very high return on investment. So the first thing you want to do is define your ideal customer profile. Who do you want to go after? Who are your best commercial customers? What are your best commercial jobs? What industries are they in? Have you worked with them before? Do you have a case study of working with them showing great results? Have you done a project like that? So think of this way. Who would you like to target? Who are you talking to? Okay. So get that picture in your mind. This is your customer. And then you're going to want to set up your email campaigns. And there's so much involved here. This is really outside the scope of what I could cover in a webinar like this, but I'll give you as much detail as I can so you can understand what's involved here and kind of give you leads about how to do it. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is you need to get domains. Now, your website is probably on something like bobspavingcompany.com. And you do not want to use that domain for emailing because of all the spam traps and all the danger associated with cold email. You can ruin the email deliverability of the domain that you're using. So you don't want to use your website domain because that's the one that probably sends transactional emails to your customers. Like, hey, thanks for scheduling. Here's your estimate. That's probably is often your main communication email. So you don't want to wreck that one. So what you want to do is buy two additional domains. Number one, if you're bobspavingcompany.com, buy bobspavingcompany.co and bobspavingcompany.net. And that's going to be your primary email, cold email domain, and your backup if you accidentally burn the first one out. Okay. Then you need to warm it up. So you don't just want to start sending emails straight away. You got to warm the thing up. Now you can do that manually, but no one has time for that. So there's software that you use. The two that I've used, the first is called LemWarm. The second is called Instantly. Either one of those will take an email address and warm it up. And what that is they've got a big network of email accounts and they all send emails to each other. And if it goes to spam, it pulls it out of spam. And so what it does is it sends signals to email service providers, the people who deliver emails for you, that, hey, this is a reputable domain. This isn't a spammer. Let this email send mail. That's what you're doing here. And you want to let that run for a couple weeks. Okay. So get the domain, get the warm up happening, set it aside. Nothing you can do for a while, except take the next steps. Next step is build or buy a list of commercial prospects with emails. And so think about your customer profile or profiles that you came up with in step one. Now you want to get lists of those customers that have emails. You can buy lists like this, usually a couple $100, can be more expensive depending on the volume, or you can scrape the lists from the internet, and that's what we do. And there are various tools that do that, but however you get the emails, once you have that list, you want to run them through programs that are called email verification services. And what those do is they test those emails to make sure they're live email boxes, they're not spam traps. They want you want to clean the bad emails out of that list because those are the ones that are going to get you in trouble with the email people. If you have a high bounce rate, a high complaint rate, land in spam traps, that's kind of stuff that wrecks your email deliverability. So you want to run your list through at least one, better two different email verification services. And you might start with a list of 15,000 emails and end up with only 5,000. And that's okay. You want them to be good, solid emails. Okay. Then you want to prepare a simple, short, direct message sequence, probably 3 to 4 emails, not anything more than that. Very short, very clear. What are you offering? What's your value proposition? What's their call to action? Just very straight and simple. Let them scan it, read it, done. No one's going to read your novel. Okay. And then you want to get software that will manage a drip sequence for you. And what a drip sequence is it's going to send emails in very small batches. Okay, with cold email, you're not sending emails out, especially early on, to the whole list at once. You're in danger of, throwing up all kinds of red flags with a new email account. Eventually, if you've been cold emailing the same list for a year or two, you could then move it into something like a MailChimp and just send a newsletter or something, but you're going to want to make sure that list is pretty well scrubbed by that point. So plan on using a drip sequence software. It's just going to work better for you. Okay. So once you have all that in place, then you're going to launch your email campaign. Okay. Your email's warmed up. You've got your messaging sequence ready. You've got your drip campaign software. You're ready to rock. And so start slow and slowly ramp up quantity, because this is another thing that the email people look at is if you go from nothing to sending a ton of email, they're going to red flag you. So start at like 30 a day and maybe increase by 5 to 10 a day. And these are settings you can do in the apps to get up to about 200 a day. Okay. And so you're going to start sending 200 cold emails a day through the software. And then at that point, you've set it and now you forget it and just let it roll. Okay. And it's just going to keep churning out 200 emails a day, working through your sequence, and you're just ready to field the responses. And you have to have a process in place for handling that. And so what I do is I just have my emailing domain auto forward any reply to my normal email address. So my, pavingmarketers.co, which I would email from, anybody that responds to that gets forwarded to my pavingmarketers.com email address, and I just reply to it from there. Okay. And you want to periodically check the performance of the emails. The way that I usually do this is I just keep the warm up thing running. So if I've got LemWarm running on an account, even if I'm running cold email, it's still going to keep doing the warm up sequences. And anytime it finds things going to spam, it's going to pull them out. But you can watch the performance of that. And if you start seeing your spam report, the rate of emails that fall into spam go up, you can dial down your volume. So if I see like suddenly tons of emails are going to spam, that means I ticked off an email service or something happened, and I just dropped my sending rate from 200 down to 50. And what that'll do is it'll let the warm-up service, it just all the time chugging along, moving things from spam, it's going to repair that reputation. And now you're going to see that's percent of emails going to spam go down. And when that percent of emails going to spam goes down, then you turn the rate back up to 200. Okay. So that's how you check performance and make adjustments to make sure that things are flowing smoothly. Okay. So that's how you do it. I mean, there's a lot there to unpack, but that's the process that I use and have used successfully for a number of years now. And that's the way to do it. And so takeaways here, everything starts with knowing your audience. It's mostly set and forget. So once done, it can be very high ROI. Don't spam, obviously. You can do careful, respectful outreach. Don't email people 10, 20 times. Um, and that's it. So ask yourself, do you see how cold email can help you with targeting specific commercial type companies and generating leads? And I hope the answer is yes. All right. So let's now move on to talking about campaigns that convert. And so your emails should always lead your customers to a desired action. There's something you want them to do, right? You're not sending this for fun. And this could be a purchase. It could be signing up for a newsletter. It could be filling out a form, like booking an appointment, which is our typical call to action, or any other goal, whatever you want them to do. But it's got to be in there. It's got to be clear to them. Okay. And so the way that you can do this, or the way you think about this as you're setting this up, is first of all, you want to have a segmented audience. So you're targeting a specific audience and not everyone, right? And so this would be, for example, sorry, I don't know if that just blocked the screen. Um, so if you've identified different commercial industries and you have different lists for each one, you probably want to send different email sequences to each one, unless they overlap enough where the messaging makes sense. But if they have specific problems that are solved by different services, then you probably want to have a different sequence for them. So just for example, um, I'm trying to think of a good example. You know, if there's a type of commercial prospect, say that you do concrete also. Say that you do concrete, right? And so there may be distribution centers that need concrete instead of asphalt, right? Where the heavy trucks are going. They don't want asphalt there. So you're going to send a different set of messaging to those guys than you will the guys that just have asphalt parking lots that maybe you want to talk about maintenance or seal coating, right? So think about who you're talking to and the solutions you have for them. And you don't want to talk about solutions that are relevant to them. And so segment your audience to the extent that makes sense to you. And I would keep this simple at start. Don't get all crazy with this until you actually are doing it a lot and you know what you're doing. Just keep it as simple as possible or you'll never do anything. Okay. And then you got to have multiple touch points. Oftentimes they won't see your first email. I mean, I've run some sequences with 12 emails to test kind of length and how well it works. And there were people that got a surprising number of people only ever responded to the 11th or 12th emails. So as I look through the entire length of the campaign, I would have almost a 50% response rate. But that 50% response rate was split up over 12 emails. So if I only sent one email, my response rate might have been 10%, 5%, right? So you need multiple touch points. But then you need a finish line. So you don't want to just pester people forever. Eventually they're going to get annoyed with you and send you to spam. So you kind of want a logic to how you put this together. And then clear KPIs. So how do you measure the success of this campaign, right? And so here's an example. I think this is one of our actual sequences that we use. You can't really see what it says. I can't read that, but I can explain the basic idea. So this is built in Revenue Commander, which is where we do all this stuff and all our email happens and where we build the stuff for our customers too. So right here, this is a segmented audience. So this is basically a trigger where I have a contact list that has a certain set of tags, and I can add them to this workflow sequence, and they're all going to get dumped into this and start receiving activity. Okay. And it can be set to drip. So it can go like, one every 5 minutes or 10 every day or whatever. There's different ways you can do it, but generally these will be set up to drip. And then, uh, there are multiple emails in here. So this is an email. This is an email. This is an email. Here's an email. So there's like 5 or 6 emails in the sequence here. Okay. And then there are KPIs. So the point of this sequence is to get people to book a call with us. So where we talk, we do a marketing audit, we look at how their competitors are doing, how they're doing, what opportunities we see, how we might be able to help them, etc. But once they actually book an appointment, we don't want to keep emailing them asking them to book an appointment because then we just look silly, right? Like we're not, it just looks bad. It's foolish. So what we do is we have logic checks. And so when someone books an appointment with us in Revenue Commander, they'll get a tag, right? Like booked appointment, say. And so what the logic here does is it checks, does this contact have tag booked appointment? And if the answer is yes, it terminates the sequence. We're done. And so, here goes an email, here it checks, hey, is this person we added to this workflow, have they already booked an appointment with us? If yes, then boom, we're not doing anything. We're out. If no, here's an email and you wait. Here's another email and you wait, check again. Have they booked an appointment? Yes. Okay, done with the sequence. No, here we go again, right? So that's the logic here. This is where, how we work through a sequence, multiple touch points. We're checking for a KPI, and then ultimately it's a finish line. And, if they never book an appointment with us, I think in this case, we might push them over to a nurture sequence, be like, hey, when we'll say, look, clearly it's not the right time for you to talk to us, totally okay. What we like to do is we've got these really helpful emails that we send about one a week, just giving you tips on how to do X, Y, or Z. And so if you're okay with that, then we'll just enroll you in that and you'll hear from us next week. And so then we just push them over to that sequence. And there's a big unsubscribe link there. If they're like, no, we don't want that, just click unsubscribe. Okay. So that's how we hand off people we put in this sequence to another sequence. And that's the kind of stuff you can do with this. It's really neat. Okay. So what I was just describing there was automating this for maximum efficiency. So it can take some time on the front end to build these things, but once you have them, they're very, very powerful for helping you market to all kinds of prospects. And you can set it and forget it. That's great. And like I said, we use Revenue Commander for this, and we build things for our own customers in there also. It's a really, really great tool. So talking about in campaigns that convert, how do you craft a good email message? And I would say the number one thing is your subject line. So if your subject line um, is boring or um, just not good, then you've already lost. They're not going to open the email. I get hundreds and hundreds of emails a day. I can recognize spam, not spam, but like cold outreach. It's fine, but I can recognize it a mile away because I don't know you. I don't know who you are. And so I don't know you and I see the subject. And if I can tell I'm not interested in it, I'm not even reading that email. It's gone. It's done. So your subject has to be relevant. It doesn't even matter what name you are. The subject line is is everything. Because if they don't take action based on your subject line, everything else doesn't matter. And so I'll give an example that worked for me. So I run marketing companies, right? So if someone sent me an email like, hey, we increase marketing companies' profit margins by 30% in 90 days, I'm going to read that email, right? Because that's a desired outcome for me. Yes, I always want better margins. So you tell me you can do that, I'll hear you out. So when you think about crafting your subject line, you think about who your ideal customer is that you're messaging, what is something that you can offer that's going to get them to stop and say, okay, I'll listen to what you have to say. So, and that's very challenging. That's a little beyond the scope of what we can go through today. How do you be creative like that? I don't know. You just got to think about it from the standpoint of your customer. What could be valuable enough to them for them to stop and say, I'll hear you. Okay. So setting that aside, the rest of the email is important too. Once you get them to open it, A personalized greeting, when you get your list, to give you an example for me, so personalizing it, when I get my list, I'm pulling Google Business Profiles. So I've got the company name, I've got their website, I've got their phone number, I've got their rating and reviews, which is relevant to me. I can use it in email copy, and I have. So I've got all this information which is accurate about them that I can use to personalize the email. And so that's what I would do. I would say, hey, company name, so like say here's a subject line that I did in the past. Hey, company name, your review average of, and I insert what the review average is not good enough. Something like that. I think I A/B tested it, but something along those lines. And so when they read that, it's their company name, it's their review average. They know what their review average is, and that's accurate. So that looks like a personalized email to them. And but it was done at scale of, 20,000, right? So I didn't manually do 20,000 emails. I just had a good list that I was able through custom variables to insert that stuff and make it personalized to that customer. And so that's the best way to personalize it. The more of that you can weave in there automatically, the much better success you will have. Okay, so that's the greeting and personalization. And then offer. What problem are you going to solve for them? And what is the next step they need to take? And then your signature. And that's it. So very simple and straightforward. So, hey, customer, we can do X for you. We see that you are this. We do this better than anyone else and cheaper than anyone else. To find out more, just reply or call us now. Thank you, Bob the paving guy. Whatever. That's it. Here's an example, just a basic personalization. Um, this one I would say is not a great example. Um, I wouldn't say I wanted to reach out. I would just say we help businesses, just get right to it. The less you talk about you, the better. You just say, hey, our clients get the best deal in the area on parking lot maintenance and service, whatever. If they're in the market for something like that, it's going to resonate with them. If they're not, it won't. So you don't have to overthink it. You're fishing for people who already are kind of open to this idea. And if they aren't, none of this other stuff's going to matter. So the takeaways here, prepare your campaign well so you can set it and forget it. Write clear, authentic, and personalized messages. Be aware that you have value to offer, and don't be ashamed of it. Sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to bug people. I don't want to talk like that, but you're in business for a reason. You're in business to take care of your customers, and it's okay to talk about that. Um, so main takeaways here to reach new customers. I hope you have a sense of how you could use cold email to do that and a sense of the process to do it. Go back and watch the replay where I go through all the details, and you certainly can replicate that for yourself. And if you have any questions, just let us know, of course. So let's switch now to the other part of it, which is engaging with existing customers. And there's really two types of this. There's short-term engagement, which is the kind of initial interactions that you have directly following a purchase, but even more so to just think of it more broadly as a conversion. So as an example, if someone books an appointment or a call with us, we have a follow-up email sequence, which is like, here's when your meeting is, here's the link to join it. And then there's an email sequence of, hey, here's a testimonial, here's a case study, here's what we did for X, Y, or Z. So we're reminding them about the call that's coming up because paving guys are busy and it can be hard to get you guys on calls. But then also providing value in terms of, hey, this is a company that I want to talk to because they clearly know what they're doing. So we're, engaging them. We're not just being annoying with, hey, come to the call. We want to provide some valuable content to let them know it's a good use of their time to talk to us. Okay, so that's what you want to think about with short-term engagement is, give your customers as much attention after they make a purchase or convert as you did before they did. Okay. Immediately after that conversion action, you're kind of on the clock, you're being evaluated, and you have a critical window of opportunity to build this trust and satisfaction and loyalty. And if you do that well, it leads to repeat clients and referrals. So, for one example, if they actually do purchase, right, and you go do the driveway or the parking lot, or whatever, right after you're done that, send a thank you email, right? Like, hey, thanks for blah, blah, blah. And then 1 week later, they're not expecting to hear from you again. Send a follow-up email like, hey, you did this service with us. Here's some tips for making it last as long as possible. You know, what can you do I don't know what you can do to avoid potholes and things like that, but anything they can do to lengthen the life of the service that they got from you, that, they're like, hey, that was nice. That was thoughtful, right? And then week 3, send an email asking for a review. And then week 4, send a final check-in email being like, hey, won't bug you more. Just want to make sure you're still satisfied with everything. Everything was good. And if you are, we'd love it if you left us a review. So you're killing two birds with one stone here. You're doing great short-term engagement around a project, but then also asking for the review, which is very important for your business. Okay. And again, these are very simple to do. There's lots of different platforms that can do these kind of things. But this is a very important thing to do, from filling out a form on your website to everything down the road. So try to build communication into your service offerings. It goes a long way. And then for long-term engagement, this is really sustained interactions over a long time. And I guarantee you, the people who tell us that they don't do any marketing, but they have a base book of business and they don't know why their sales are down, they're not doing this. And if they were doing this, their sales probably wouldn't be down, because I can just speak from personal experience. I couldn't tell you who my HVAC company is. I don't care. They've done great work for me, and I'll call them again. And anytime I have to say I need to call a plumber, I don't remember who the last plumber is that I had in my house. We moved a couple years ago to a new city. And so, I know we have someone, but I'm not really sure who it is. First thing I do is I just check my email for, like, what did I do last? What plumber emailed me? What HVAC company emailed me? And I can tell from that who I did business with, right? I know who my HVAC company and plumber is now because they send emails. They send like a monthly newsletter, quarterly newsletter. So I don't always read it, but there it is. I recognize the name. I know who they are, and I know who I'll call when I need something taken care of. And so you want to think about your relationship with your own customers that way. So that's what newsletters are for. And it's very important to just keeping you top of mind as, their needs come up again. And especially for something like paving, where, you may not have, maybe big commercial customers, you'll have more work every year, but you might only deal with people every couple of years. So a good cadence for you might be once a quarter, right? You don't need to send something every month. It's really hard to come up with that much content. And so just keep it once a quarter. And, so 4 emails a year, not that hard to do. Just hit your customers and just let them know who you are. Share good content that's valuable to them. I'll give an example on the next slide. And just invite them to follow you on social media, which is a topic for another day. And have a loyalty referral program. Give them something for sending customers to you. So put all these things together in quarterly or monthly newsletters, and just make sure you're doing that. I mean, you can automate the entire year. You could set this up in January during the off season to have emails go out in February, have 4 emails go out throughout the year. Middle of each quarter, you're done for the year. And so we send out a monthly newsletter, which includes, a link to the replay of this webinar that we do every month, and an invitation to the one that's coming up. And then just and my team does this, any interesting content that paving companies would find interesting, tips they can use. We don't want this thing to be 85 pages long, but a couple good articles that could be valuable for our customers and our list that aren't all customers. And hey, here's this content we do that we put out there to help you. And here's some things you can do, join our Facebook group or whatever. It's all in there. This goes out once a month, and it's pretty easy to do. So the whole point is, stay in your customers' minds, give them something valuable consistently, and just stay with them, and they'll stay with you normally. People don't want to switch vendors for no reason. And so I hope you can see the importance of long-term engagement. And as your takeaways from this, just think about, how can you improve your short-term engagement game? How can you improve your long-term engagement game? Are you not doing either of them? What's the easiest way you can get started? But just take action and start doing something. and you can always build it up and make it better over time. I mess with this stuff all the time for us. All right, so let's talk about your next steps. So you really want to maximize your emails. It really is an extremely powerful tool. For us, it drives a ton of not only sales, but client engagement, prospect engagement. It's one of our best channels, and we've seen that be true for customers also. So it's definitely something you want to do. And to do this, you've got two options. You can do it yourself, or you can have it done for you. If you do it yourself, I try to make these webinars with enough information that it's not going to bore you to death and take up too much of your time, but it gives you enough information that you can take this or someone on your team and do this on your own. A lot of this stuff is not rocket science. You just got to do it. And, um, if you have someone on your team who can do this, send them this webinar and just tell them to get cracking on it, right? If you're tech savvy enough and you have some time or someone on your team with the time, you can do this yourself. You don't need it done for you necessarily. However, you can hire us to help you implement this. We do this. We do this ourselves. We do it for some of our customers. Not everybody wants to do it. I wish everybody did. We'll get there. But if you're a delegator and you want to stay focused on the things that you can do, then the best strategy is to have someone do it for you. And we're happy to talk about that with you. And so whichever one of these two options is the best one for you, pick one and do it. Like, get your emails. If you are not sending emails, get it done. Believe me, you'll kick yourself. When you see what it does, people are like, man, I should have done this a long time ago. And if you want to talk to us about it, we can do a free consultation. It's our market audit, and we can talk about email. Just go to pavingmarketers.com/apply now. Get yourself on Jason's calendar, and then you will experience our short-term engagement email sequence for yourself if you haven't already. And we'd love to talk to you, let you know what's going on in your market and what we can do to help. Or if you're like me, sometimes just want to pick up the phones, just go ahead and pick up that phone, give us a call, and we'd be happy to talk to you that way too. With that, I will conclude the webinar today. I hope this was super valuable for you, and I hope you have some takeaways and you go and you get those in place. Like I said, once you see the power of email, it can be a real game changer for you. So go out there and get it done for your paving business. Thank you much. We'll see you next month.